All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first inaugural podcast of Broken Barbell. Myself, Dave Barth, here with Kevin J. Hughes and Tom Patterson. We're a strength and conditioning podcast, sort of a little bit of a rip-off of Barbell Shrug, but we're here to kind of give you some good information and take this stuff seriously, and hopefully you can learn something from us. So, got to get introductions out of the way. Like I said, I'm Dave Barth. I've been coaching strength conditioning and just overall personal training for about 3 years now. I have my exercise science diploma, which is about 2 years of post-secondary. I have my CrossFit Level 1 certification and my Olympic weightlifting certification from NCCP here in Canada. Basic stuff, I like to think of myself as a CrossFitter, a really amateur weightlifter, and just sort of on that fitness journey that a lot of us find ourselves on. So the next we'll go with Kevin here.
Hey, Kevin Hughes here. I've been in the fitness industry since, I say, last year in personal training. Other than that, I've just been kind of sleeping on people's couches and, training others for short cash. Have you ever seen that scum on the bottom of the barrel? That's me. I don't have a science diploma like Tom and Dave here, but I have my CanFit Pro, which for $500 you can get in a weekend.
For all you need.
Yeah, all you need. So me, probably not the most serious guy education-wise, but I consider myself a serious weightlifter and hopefully to compete here in the near future. And let's give it on to Tom.
Hey, I'm Tom. Same kind of background, close to Dave. Done my kinesiology diploma, certified personal trainer, CrossFit Level 1, NCCP weightlifting coaching courses, all that good stuff. Love strength training. Big fan of anything related to it. I like Louis Simmons. He's got some really good stuff. I do way too much reading, and I am a little in over my head. So it's really good to get a chance to talk about stuff like this because it kind of just builds up, and then you gotta get it out every.
We're not here for fat loss.
We're not here for fat loss. So the reason we didn't decide to make this is, like Tom said, we do a lot of talking, and sometimes you need a vent. This is kind of like an anger issue now, where we just need to talk and discuss and get our ideas out of the way. So to kind of get us started, like we said, we're a lot of amateur weightlifters, and we are just kind of starting on our journey to competition, whether it be a provincial, Olympic weightlifting, myself hoping to be a competitive athlete at the CrossFit Open this year. So it all kind of starts here. We've started blogging, we've started reading and researching. This has become a big part of our lives, even more so in the last year. So basically every week or so, hopefully, we're going to be discussing new strength and conditioning topics, new shit that we find online, things that we've heard, and things that we experience every day in our lives as amateur athletes and as personal trainers and coaches. So this week, our goal here is to discuss different strength conditioning methods, being it a Wendler, a conjugate, 5x5, simple methods like that and how we work, and basic programming. So we'll go to Tom. He's currently training for what? Provincials in?
January?
January kicks off. They've got a weightlifting competition I'm training for in the 77 kg weight class. Looking to total 200 kilos for my first competition, and according to my new program, I should be on track for that. I'm a big numbers guy with this stuff now.
And that's what we found, because you started totaling, rather than just doing basic 5x5 and Olympic weightlifting, we started looking at his tonnage.
Yeah. The total amount of.
Which is
sort of like Bulgarian.
Yeah.
Close to that, and which is interesting, because that's not something you see a lot of in strength training nowadays.
No. Especially here.
You see a lot of...
I think the Sahara Desert.
Sahara Desert weight training, yeah.
Exactly. And I love the best online resources you have around here at bodybuilding.com or...
Muscle and Fitness.
The Gospel.
Six Pack Shortcuts.
Yeah, Mike Chang.
Yeah.
And I like those guys because they tell you what exercises to do and how often and stuff, but they never talk about how much weight you should be lifting, right?
Yeah, no percentages.
None, right? And even that, it's more than the percentages. I find it's the tonnage that you need to think about.
Yeah, the amount of weight lifted.
The amount of weight lifted each session.
But quantifying that as even something bigger, we aren't looking at it from session to session. We're looking at it from day to week to month. We're saying, should you just, like, if you're a serious weightlifter, should you program for a year at a time?
Yeah.
And that makes sense because we've talked about periodization
Yeah,
a million times.
And I was thinking about that because I did my program currently is a 4-month one, which times in good with my competition coming up. And I was thinking about that today, like, well, what if I just went and did everything for a whole year? And it's like, well, what if I get injured or what if something comes up? So I think it's nice to break it up into smaller, like 3 or 4 month chunks. That way, if something goes wrong or shit hits the fan.
You have your macro cycle and then a mesocycle.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
your 4-week, month-to-month kind of thing.
But I also figured out why they use kilos instead of pounds, because when you add up your tonnage for 4 months, you're using numbers like 100,000 pounds for each lift.
Sound a lot better than you are.
It's so hard to convert to fucking kilos.
It's annoying, but it sounds a lot cooler, right?
It does.
When you say your PR at the end of the month, I PR'd 2 kilos this month.
Yeah,
like, fuck 2 kilos. Well, that's 5.5 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 5.4. Like, I mean, that's a lot better.
I'm still in the fucking works of trying to understand it.
Oh, I still don't know what my weight division is. I still have to Google it every single time.
84.
Well, you and me sat there for 2 minutes the other day, so fucking in between sets, trying to figure out what our kilo is.
Yeah, I know.
But that's what it is. So when we were looking at, like, we're talking mesocycle, macrocycle, and we were periodizing. So are you going, like, we looked at yours, and it is sort of that, like that pendulum curve where we have that slow build, that serious drop off. But then, is it on that 4th day, technically your light, is your tonnage still heavier than it would be on your heaviest day?
No, because
not anymore.
What I did personally was I changed it so I have 3 days that are the same. So I do the snatch, the clean and jerk, a squat, and a press 3 days of the week. So that's.
Do you put a squat in every single session?
No, not on the 4th day.
Not on the 4th day?
So those 3 days are based off of Tommy Kono's approach,
okay.
which if anybody doesn't know who he is, look him up if you're interested
awesome
in weightlifting.
In the 50s.
He is amazing, and he's got some really good videos on YouTube.
Well, and explain to the people why Tommy Kono's so good, about how he went to every single weight class and won.
Yeah,
damn close.
He lifted competitively for about 10 years, and he set world records in 4 different weight classes, I believe. The only weightlifter in history to do that, which is amazing if you think about it, because so many people looking at building muscle, changing their weight classes, going up, cutting weight, stuff like that. He progressed through his career. He started in the 63 kg weight class. He weighed 150 pounds, and he finished weighing close to 200 pounds over the span of 10 years.
I'd love to be sitting here and saying, for those of you who don't know kilos, this is how much pounds you weigh. I have no freaking idea. 150?
So, again, and that's side note here. So, you look at those quick bulking plans or whatever, like put on 20 pounds of muscle in X amount of time. Yes, there might be some benefits to that, but if you look at Tommy Kono, extremely, extremely successful weightlifter, he did it over 10 years. So I don't think he was ever trying to up his weight class, and he also talked about how changing your weight class can negatively impact your progress if you do it too soon.
Going up or down,
jumping up. I would say jumping up.
Yeah, so he was kind of saying that there's no point of going up a weight class to think about lifting more weight, because if you can lift X amount of kilos here, and that's the absolute max potential you have,
and then
pound per body weight,
relative strength.
Relative strength. It's going to be the exact same at your next weight class or next weight class. So there is some benefit to just staying at the lower weight classes and just winning where you've won before.
Maxing out your relative strength.
Yeah, exactly.
And then because bigger people lift bigger weights, so gaining weight is going to help you lift more.
Very simple method. The heavier you are, the heavier you can do things.
But, of course, it's better to actually peak and hit a high point where you hit your limit and then gain weight to gain.
I think that's where I'm just starting to get in, because I've always wanted to be 185. Even when I was looking into CrossFit, I was looking at all the number 1 athletes.
You look at them. There is something to be said about being a competitive, and CrossFit's a great example, because you look at Rich Froning, who's won at 185 twice, I think. He's won at 195 once, and then somewhere in between, or whatever the hell it was for last year, I guess. But then you look at a guy like Chris Spieler, who is why just everybody knows him in the CrossFit community, because he's just that good. He's been there since I think the 2007-2008 games, where he was in the top 5. So he can before CrossFit was CrossFit essentially.
Exactly.
So I mean, that guy is always at a disadvantage, because you get a guy who's 185. He's going to be able to overhead squat more than the guy who's 170 every single day, unless he's some kind of genetic freak.
Yeah.
But I mean, CrossFit, the high guys, they're all genetic freaks.
Okay, so we were talking about tonnage. back on topic here. That kind of went on a tangent.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, so
God damn it, Tom.
back to tonnage. Before Tommy Kona, we were
Mhm.
talking about pendulum wave. So for those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically a 4-week plan, and it's up, 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 and then back down to week 1. So you essentially have your weeks 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you're saying week 1 low, week 2 medium, week 3 high. We're going pretty high volume, and then that week 4 would be almost like doing the low day on week 1.
Essentially, and
As
it's
the
not,
exercises will change.
Exercises can change. They can be the same. It's not necessarily volume. It could also be weight, which can be the same thing. But okay, in terms of volume, we'll talk about reps. In terms of load, we're talking about how much weight you're moving. So your load can be increasing. Your volume can stay the same, or they can both be increasing, or your volume can be increasing. Either way, you're working your way up, and then you're going back down to where you started at the end.
Now, you're not working up to your 1 rep max.
No.
Just
You could be. You could.
Yeah.
Which
some
is
maximal effort at least.
yeah,
So
which
you're probably
is
at a 90%,
90%.
like maybe like singles and doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
could be. So you do that for a month, and then next month, essentially, you start your first week as your second week from the first month.
Wow,
So-
that probably went over everybody's head.
So-
Yeah.
In simpler terms, you go 1, 2, 3, 4,
And then 2, 3.
2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 3, 4,
You
5.
work your way up.
So the
Yeah.
easiest
Read
way.
a fucking book.
So if so write it down, read a fucking book. But
Yeah.
if you're doing it, it's a very simple process of. To give you an example, every day you're doing a back squat, or every month, or whatever you want to say, but every time you'd add 5 pounds to that.
Yeah.
The next month you'd be starting from, so let's say you did 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds. The next week you'd be starting at 10, 15, 20
And this
pounds.
isn't just for Olympic weightlifting.
No, you
No,
can
no,
use
no,
it.
this is-
This is
Yeah,
big
and I
weightlifting.
wanted to say, when we say weightlifting, in terms of Tommy Kono and things like that, we are
Yeah.
talking about the clean and jerk, we are talking
Yes.
about the Olympic snatch.
So Olympic style.
We're not talking
weightlifting.
powerlifting, crossfitting,
No.
nothing
But
like that.
but that pendulum wave is very common in
It's-
CrossFit
yeah.
and powerlifting. Louis Simmons is big on that with his conjugate system. But
Yeah.
back to tonnage, how that affects it. So for me, I'm doing the 3 days that are the same, and then my 4th day, I'm just going to do cleans and a press, because I figure I can do heavy cleans, because my clean is far heavier than my jerk, which kind of sucks right now. But so I figure I'll train my jerk 3 times a week and do this what essentially light clean work, and then do heavy cleans on Saturday with some
Your cleans
pressing.
are really good.
Yeah, cleans are coming all right. If I could jerk what I clean, I'd be laughing.
Is that where you're finding trouble right now?
Is your jerk?
Yeah, so that's why I'm glad that I'm going lighter with it, because I'm starting at around 70% of my 1 rep
Yeah.
max, and going basically through my pendulum wave is 70, 75, 80, 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll be starting in no man's land essentially in the next month, because my percentages are going to be all skewed.
Yeah.
So my volume isn't necessarily going to be affected. My snatch isn't on the 4th day of the week at all, and my jerk won't be. So I don't think of using the pendulum wave so much in terms of days as I do in weeks, especially if you look at Louis Simmons' conjugate method, which, should we explain that?
Well, okay, how are you going to, okay, you can't really,
Yeah.
that's tough to explain, but this is kind of his thing, where you do, like, take out the accommodating resistance, take out all
Yeah.
of that, but he works on that 3 kind of 1 day off. But let's just stick on the volume thing. So with your volume, like, give me 1 week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because you're lifting 4 days a week right now.
4 days a week. I'll just stick with the 3 days where I'm doing the same thing, because that's more relevant.
Okay. So day 1, what do you lift it? Like, not weights, anything like that, but what exercises are you doing?
I'm doing the snatch, the clean and jerk, a back squat, and a military press on days 1 and 3.
Okay, I was going to say all on day 1, Jesus.
That's day one.
That's, yeah.
And day 3. Day 2 is snatch, clean and jerk, SOTS press, which is when you squat down and grab the bar in a snatch grip and press it overhead.
Essentially overhead.
Start with a
Yeah.
dowel if you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to check your
Start with a
mobility.
foam roller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And then a front squat on that day. So back squatting twice, front squatting once. Because my front squats are pretty good. I'm not too worried about those.
Yeah.
So in terms of volume, this is another good reference for anyone listening. Prelepin's chart. Preplin is how you spell his name, I think.
Yeah.
If not, whatever, Google it. If it's
I
wrong,
fucking-
you'll still come up with
On
it.
that
We'll
my
figure it out.
cubby, I
Yeah.
drew it out on a sticky note. And
Yeah,
yeah,
It's everybody knows this. Like when I told Dave about it,
Yeah.
He looked at it and he was like, oh, I know what this is. And it's basically where everyone came up with that 3x5, 5x5,
Yeah.
heavy singles, sets of 12, sets of 8.
Every time you've ever heard about strength training, every time you've walked into a CrossFit gym and things that we're doing a heavy 5x5 at X%, we're doing a 3x5, 5x1 at 90.
It's the reason nobody does 4 sets of like 7 for 21 reps, right?
Exactly.
So his chart, basically, if you look it up, that's good. If not, basic breakdown. He figured out if you're working at a certain percentage, you need to be doing X amount of reps per set, and there's a minimum, a maximum, and then an optimum number of repetitions to be doing. So what I did for my volume, and this will be interesting, because I started at 70%, and I found the minimum amount of reps I could do and what that volume was. Because he doesn't talk about volume in his chart at all, it's just the percentage of the reps. So I found the lowest volume, I found the optimum volume, and I found the maximum volume. So then I'm doing, you would look at my program and go, what the hell is this?
Looks like a Russian scientist
because,
decided to write something down on a piece of paper.
This guy cares?
It's because I'm doing, on Monday I'm doing the snatch with 4 sets of 3. So that kind of makes sense. Like triples are good. I'm probably doing like positional work. But 4 is kind of an odd number because normally it's like 5x3, right? For 15
we get
reps.
stuck in there 3x10.
No.
It's 25, 30, or 40 reps.
Yeah, don't make it
for amateur or whatever.
So I'm hitting 12 reps that day, which is the minimum number of reps you want to be doing with 70% of your max. So all in week 1, I'm working at 70% every day.
Yeah.
Second day, I'm doing 18 reps of my snatch and my clean and jerk. Back to the first day, I'm doing 24 reps of a clean and jerk, so that's 3 sets of 6.
And the good thing that I seen that Tom was doing is he's keeping track of missed lifts.
Yes. Quick little blurb here for people. This is, I think, who gave me that idea?
I've heard of this recently.
I think it was Dan Smith, who's a strength coach in the States, who's got some really good stuff if you want to check him out. He's pretty laid back with his training, so he's relaxed, and he's got a very chill approach, I guess, to training. He's not about banging weights and slamming your head on the wall, which is good because people need that. So he said basically...
Tom doesn't like that.
Tom doesn't like that.
No.
He's a mellow approach to weightlifting.
So his whole thing was work at a weight where you can complete each lift, and if you miss a lift or you miss X amount of lifts, you're probably working too heavy, right?
Do you count that, or would you bump down? What would you do in the case of missing?
Bump down your weight so
you
can hit it. And because that's the thing, weightlifting isn't like bodybuilding or powerlifting where if you fail a deadlift, you just go again. If you miss a snatch, you are exerting a lot of energy to get it up.
You do like a maximum of 3 reps with a lift. Because I mean, if you showed a bodybuilder an Olympic lifting program, you only do 3 reps.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
want to show you something.
High volume for us is anything more than 5.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you get on,
walk up the stairs to get my bars.
Exactly. I don't see you doing a 5x5.
That's why I leave it downstairs.
Yeah. Because at that point, your form is going to start to deteriorate, right?
So that's why I love this.
But then again, that's where CrossFit
a little bit of
barrier, right?
They're different.
Yeah.
The ball, you got to think of, okay, we're doing 30 reps, but 30 reps for those guys, total volume, they're probably working at like maybe 30, 50% of their max.
And it's cool to kind of see like Kendrick Ferris. I even watched a YouTube video of Donnie Schenkel doing a CrossFit workout.
Or the one where Dmitry Klokov did Isabella, and he beat
Isabella. Oh, exactly. There's a perfect example, right? But then you say, okay, Dimitri, you do 21, you do that muscle up biathlon.
Yeah.
He's done. He's done.
He's a weightlifter.
Sports specificity.
Exactly. Sports specificity is everything.
Yeah.
So, basically what we're trying to give you from that volume stuff, is complicated and convoluted as it is that a progressive overload, like everything else, that 1, 2, 3 system, and then that drop off on the 4th day. And yes, we work on a week-to-week cycle, a month-to-month after that, and then probably a year, depending.
Yeah,
so
you gotta lift heavy weights to get stronger.
The best...
but do you?
I think yes. Okay.
I think
I think the best advice, and it's the most dumbed-down advice ever, is... Yes, progressive, whatever. But the people who lift, who was it? John Welburn talked to some guy, doctor, I think it was Pavlov or whatever, at the Moscow University. And he said they took 30 different strength programs, be it conjugate, whatever the hell it was, and lots of shit from Soviet Union. And they said, and the information came back very simple. If you've heard of this podcast, it's very simple. The people who lifted the heaviest weights were the strongest. The people who ran the fastest times were the fastest, right? Yeah, exactly. Holy shit.
Yeah, which is I'd like to see that. I haven't heard of that actually. That'd be
I haven't looked up the study. This is something new, and I'm sure it's probably not even that big of a study, but it is just that big of a wow.
Yeah.
If you lift heavy, you'll be able to lift heavier.
Then you have to talk about what heavy means, because
I'd say scalable and to your percentage.
And especially if you looked on that calisthenics website, if you're an upcoming weightlifter who's just getting into it, like we all are.
Yeah.
You look at that. I don't know what system it goes under the calisthenics website, but there's
Catalyst.
a level. Yeah, Catalyst.
Athletics.
Oh, Catalyst Athletics.
Sorry,
yeah.
The level one.
Calisthenic weight.
Calisthenic weightlifting. Bench press, barbell. Fuck.
Like I said, bottom of the barrel. Right here.
Yeah.
But Catalyst Athletics. They have lots of those beginning things.
Yeah.
Catalyst Athletics. The great thing about them is that they'll give you moves if you are, like you said, like an amateur weightlifter. Things that you wouldn't even think to do.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff on that site.
Like just like stupid shit. Like hey, do a snatch grip deadlift. Well, I didn't ever think about doing
those
that.
And that's the one thing that my online coach, Travis Mash, with Mash Elite, with the program that he gave me, which I found increased my front squat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let you know we're on the topic now. You're doing is Attitude Nation? Is that what they're what's Travis Mash's thing right now? What are you doing with?
Is he with John North? Does he work?
John North isn't with him anymore, but they still own Attitude Nation.
Yeah.
They have a bar slam festival this month actually.
Americans.
Yeah, no doubt. And but his programming is getting me fucking stronger. I mean, my front squat was at 280. I was pissed.
Yeah, and
I got 315 yesterday.
Yeah.
And then
So how long did that take?
Oh, I probably started. Well, I started his program. I gotta say 3 or 4 months ago, but then I hurt my lower back a little bit, and I was like, okay, maybe I should step it back a bit. Went back to a beginner program by Glenn Pendlay. Just did a basic one. Did 3 position cleans and snatches, and did accessory work on my back and hamstrings, and worked on my mobility like crazy.
The back to basics.
Yeah, back to the basics, getting that foundation built.
Did you say you just front squat at 315?
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I
you go back.
rack
I
jerked
hate you.
245.
Yeah, I saw that.
You rack jerked?
I was gonna do
245.
I was gonna do online coaching for you when I saw that post, because I was like, okay, we got a few things we could fix here.
Oh yeah.
But fuck, the thing is, if you could do 245 like that and move about 3 feet forward, if you could have stayed right back on, you would have been 250.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to draw the platform out in chalk on the floor.
Exactly.
Am I still on it?
Yeah, no shit.
But that just goes to show that you're getting somewhere, right? So Travis Mash, he started in powerlifting, I think.
Yeah.
And he has like a 795 pound squat or
he's
something.
doing like the snatch with the chains.
Yeah. That's
and he does the back sweep. That was one of the cool things. That was his gym
Sweeping
too.
the bar back?
Yeah, where he has a band attached to the snatch bar, and you move through all 3 positions of the snatch with the bar against your body, trying not to let the bar leave your body. And that'll help control your bar path and just kind of teach you how to get your lats engaged, how to get your shoulders over top of the bar, and stay in that position. So obviously you need a little bit of help with that, and that's definitely not for the amateur lifter or somebody who's never even gotten past the bar yet.
No, exactly.
But it's a really cool idea.
His program was actually really cool because, I mean, you'd find your 8 rep max, and then you'd hold a front squat.
Yeah, see that I always found that really crazy, doing the 8 rep max. Like, I didn't really see a point. Like, I'd rather
do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
like
you do a lot of that.
5
yeah.
rep, 8 rep.
Yeah, and then there's like 8 to 10 rep max, and that killed me.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So, okay, let's talk about that. I was thinking about this today, and I was reading it, and it's like the only reason I think that, like, if you want to get strong, if you want to get absolutely power lifter, like world elite strong, you'd have to do 2 to 3 maximal efforts a week. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would mean like 2 probably back squats at your 1RM, like trying to get there twice a week.
Yeah.
But your body could not handle that.
No,
maybe for like 2 weeks.
No.
Sure.
Well,
but your body, you would just implode yourself, and that's why you go backwards.
And training over 90% for more than 3 weeks leads to overtraining, and you.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone says
go
overtraining. Like
backwards.
CT Fletcher, Yeah, the guy's fucking
There's
huge.
no overtraining.
But there
Okay,
is
okay,
overtraining.
okay.
There
I think there is overtraining.
There
I
is.
think it's really hard to get there. I wouldn't listen to CT Fletcher
No.
about how I got there.
Yeah.
But
No.
it's like, okay, like think of this. When you hear about overtraining, it's usually for the general public. It's mom
Which
going to
doesn't
Zumba.
happen.
No, exactly.
Mom in Zumba class has 2 babies. She didn't get much sleep last night, and she forgot
She
to
just
eat.
got divorced.
Yeah, exactly. She's having a real
Half
fucking
a
tough
bottle
go.
of wine.
Yeah, exactly. She
Yeah.
killed a bottle of wine. Kids are sick.
Wonder why she's fat.
And she's overtraining now. Why? Well,
Yeah.
because she did a Zumba class and didn't sleep, and she
Yeah.
fucking didn't eat.
Went
anything.
out Saturday.
And that's not
That's not
overtraining.
overtraining.
That's being tired because
Yeah.
you're having a shit
Sorry,
life.
back to the program.
That's
that
a
I was on.
misconception.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So we're leaving that.
No,
okay.
no, that's okay. At the 8 rep max that I was doing, it says for the second set, you'd have to work up to it, right? So, I mean, I'd probably take 2 to 3 reps to work up to my 8 rep max. And then once you reach it, you got a minus 0.5%. Then your last set, you minus 10% from it.
Yeah.
Which I found,
Ooh, math.
yeah,
See,
yeah.
like that's.
I was
that's
actually
the kind of
calculating
shit-
it wrong at
Yeah.
first.
How hard is it to?
Yeah, exactly.
How hard is it to take out
That's
10?
why I jacked myself up the first
Yeah,
time.
fuck.
I did
Oh,
it.
I got 100 pounds today. We'll take 10% off. Oh, I'm taking 35 off. That's
I was
easy.
probably adding.
Yeah, fucking adding 10%.
Well, that stuff is good, but it gets kind of tricky if you only have 2.5 pound plates and you're working with.
Yeah, so let's say you're
5.
at a gym that doesn't have all that. I
And that's the
wish
thing,
we
right?
had a place that had like the half gram.
It would say
Yeah.
like
Or half pound, sorry.
183 pounds. I'm like, okay, well, I would just round it up
Yeah.
to 85.
And
I'd
that's
always,
when
I'd
you-
always go up. I wouldn't go
So
down.
so at some volumes, depending on your reps,
Yes.
that's doable.
Yeah, it
And
is.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
fucking really not.
And like, this is my last week on this program, and then after I'm testing my actual lifts.
Yeah.
And the one thing after this program, I'm going to email him or just look for a different program where I can really work on my jerks too.
Yeah.
Because it's my back foot that I think is really is something that I need to work on. Because I've
It's always planted and you jump forward a couple
Yes,
inches.
it's always
Same
planted
thing
and-
Tom was doing, and then pointed out to Tom, and he changed it, and he hasn't done it since.
so I'm probably going to do a good
Hyperflexion
general.
back, though.
Yeah, exactly. And I was not doing that at all, and I was like, why the
Yeah.
fuck does this feel so
Yeah.
wonky? And boom, I seen Tom do it once. Like, well, fuck, I'll try that on my
Yeah.
Wednesday session. Did it, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
That was-
Oh, my
yeah,
ankle
holy fuck,
did
that was
that.
yeah, wow.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
nice.
Well, it's the same thing that he's been teaching me every single time. Like, it's always frustrating because every time I do it, I won't drop. Like, you see my lifts, and it's just like, well, that could be heavier if you would just get under the
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
bar.
But that was something I don't drop very much either, which is bad for me because I'm tall for my weight
Mhm.
class.
Yeah.
And then I was going with lighter weight a couple of days ago, and I had more time to get under, so I went lower, and
Yeah.
it was like so much easier, and my back wasn't killing me as much. It's like,
You drop lower?
I dropped lower, so I got under.
I gotta
It's
try
like,
that.
Just get lower. Your front leg should be definitely bent, maybe pigeon-toed a little bit, but that back leg, you should definitely have a bend in your
Yeah.
knee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The thing is, it's
I'll show you the video after we're done this. I'm in the jerk. I'm holding the bar, and you'll see me
Yeah.
try and twist my foot onto my toe, like go onto my toes. Just
like
'cause-
what do you mean, like going from straight like toe in line
Not-
with your knee to turning it like internally?
Oh, not my front knee, no, my back
Oh,
leg.
what?
So like
What
you
do
know
you mean?
how it's flat? I tried to twist it in, so I got hyped. So,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh.
to see if I could hold it.
It's fucked.
So I know, probably not the smartest
No,
idea.
I wouldn't say so.
No.
There's a few other places. Maybe you could practice out beforehand.
Yes, I mean I should be doing that with 245 pounds over my
Yeah.
head.
But hey, what do you know?
But I still I got it right. I mean,
Yeah.
I got over my head, my elbows locked
Yeah.
out, and I stood up straight and had control
Yeah.
of the weight. But at the end of the day, it's still you gotta get that proper form in. Which
Yeah.
I am gonna. I'm gonna
With-
take a step back and
Yeah.
just. I know I can get over my head. I know I can. It's just I just gotta get that back foot planted and make sure that because if I get that planted, my jerk will go up
Yeah.
at least 5 or 10
Yeah,
kilograms.
which is something that's very specific to weightlifting. Is strength is important. I'd say power is more important. Speed is important, but form is
is key.
Is number one.
Technique is everything.
Just
This
like
is
Louis
why-
Simmons says, the one thing that CrossFitters do lack is a foundation.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
this is what we're talking. If it doesn't matter what spec, you shouldn't be worrying about the conjugate program. You shouldn't be
No.
worrying about
Do a 5x5
accommodating
or
resistance
something.
with bands and shit. If you
Yeah.
can't do a snatch with 65 pounds and get under that bar quick, perfect,
yeah.
there's no point.
Which is something I was thinking about on the way up in terms of okay, we're probably going to be talking about some strength programming, so it'd be good to like give some ideas for people who are starting off, and like beginners I think should do bodybuilding exercises.
Tommy
because
Kono
they're-
did that.
Tommy
right?
Kono start with that. They're simple. They're very easy to scale. And I mean, people talk about structural versus functional. Well, functional is completely misused words in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
West.
You can just slap functional on anything and people run with it.
So it's so say like comparing. Okay, pull ups. Yeah, that's good for your back, good for your arms. Well, so are bent over rows and dumbbell curls. And
Good mornings, I think, are something
good mornings
that
are
people
very
need
good.
to be doing more.
But it's much easier to measure your progress with dumbbells than it is with doing chin-ups with resistance bands.
Yeah.
For help, right?
Also, I found from like when I was a little kid, I got into wrestling and everything when I was probably 10 or 11, and I wouldn't do any weights.
Yeah.
My coaches would just stick with body weight stuff. And
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
good
really
stuff.
helped me out
Yeah.
with
and
building a
that's-
foundation towards bodybuilding. I got into
Anything.
bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And then my body just reacted good to that, and then I got into Olympic weightlifting, and then my flexibility sucked, so I took a step back, did trigger point and all that stuff, and I'm naturally strong, I think, or else I started at a young age with just fitness overall. I fell in love with it. I mean, I was making my own meal plans when I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
Which is kind of opposite from Dave and I, because I didn't squat until my second year in college.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Right?
I mentioned that in the blog there, which we'll plug at the end of this.
Yeah.
But once Kevin came to me one day, and I've been training for a while, and I've been doing my own thing, played sports. We all played sports growing up.
Yeah.
Whatever. But he challenged me to just calisthenics, just body weight training for a couple weeks, and just get my eating on track. Ever since I did that basic conditioning and just kind of learned a few new things about places in my body, like my little weaknesses, my little imperfections as far as that goes, it made a huge difference. I feel my Olympic weightlifting's better, WODs got better, conditioning just got better because your body moves better, just moves more functionally.
Yeah. And it's hard to with calisthenics. Good thing about that is it's really hard to mess up. Basically,
It's hard to fuck
you
up a
can do a
push-up.
shitty bench press, but doing a shitty push-up, you're gonna know it's a shitty push-up,
Yeah.
right? So that's it's simple, right? Easy.
All right, so we're going to take our first break of this podcast, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, we're back. So I wanted us to get back on track with starting strength and basic strength. So when Kevin was talking about minusing 10% after almost like a 1 RM and then minusing another 5%, working from 8 RMs and things like that, we want to just kind of keep in mind that's not for people who are just kind of starting out, like starting strength workouts. That's for a little bit more progressive people who are ready to get to the next step and that next, like people who actually want to compete. So we're saying the basic 5x5 method seems to work really well. So if you took a back squat in week 1 and you did 200 pounds, 5 sets, great technique. And keep in mind, this has to be good technique. You did your 5 sets at that weight, you're done. The next week, you'd add 5 pounds to your lift, 205, and it'd be straightforward from there, and you could just slowly progress. Do you guys find that to be the best way?
Yeah. And for how long you should be doing a 5x5 for, I'd say go 4 to 6 weeks if you're just starting out.
Well, there's a website. Is it exrx.com?
I don't think I've heard of that.
It's like exercise
Sure.
prescription. That's a good one. It's got some little. You can look up the lifts and like what's considered beginner, intermediate, advanced, elite kind of thing. So finding information like that is really good because that's relative to body weight too. So take a look at something like that and say, okay, this is where I am. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And a 5x5 usually is pretty good up to like the intermediate. Once you get to the more advanced level, then it's not really the most efficient way to go.
So it's giving you a goal of somewhere where you think you should be, but sometimes it's not how it works. I think you should stick on your 5x5 until you stop seeing progress.
Mm-hmm.
If after 6 months, however long it's been, you find that you can't get that next 5 pounds, you can't get that next 2.5 pounds on your squat, now it's time to change your program. Maybe now it's time to get into a little bit more of the powerlifting techniques or working from higher maximal percentages, be it 85,
Whatever your goal
90%.
is.
But as long as it's working, do it, right?
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
Gotta find what works for you.
Especially if you're just beginning,
Yeah,
there's
if you're
lots
beginning,
of things.
keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just do something, anything's gonna work, but don't go out and buy a bunch of shake weights.
Don't
Fitness!
No
don't,
shit.
Don't worry about what Dmitry Klokov is doing on Instagram. Do what's working
You'll
for
never
you.
be like him.
You will not be. You will never be Dmitry
Because you
Klokov.
weren't born in a lab. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you just gotta stick with that. Oh, what else are we gonna talk about now?
So yeah, again, just that kind of beginner 5x5 programming is good, and I think there's a lot of information like that out there. So it's not hard to find stuff like that.
No.
Again, Jim Wendler's got a good book, 531.
Yeah, the 531 program. So
which I read and then I forgot what it is.
basic outlook is you'd pick a lift. So let's say it depends how many days you want to train, what your output is, all that shit.
But I think he was big. He's more of a power lifter, so I think he was big into like the bench press, squat, deadlift, and military press.
Yeah, but so this doesn't really apply to cleans, jerks, snatching, anything like that.
No.
But like basic, he kind of found himself in like the CrossFit community with Monday you would do a back squat 1 week, so you do your 5 RM.
Yeah.
Then whatever, maybe military press Wednesday, deadlift Friday. Okay, so that would be 5-5-5 week 1. Week 2, you do a 3 RM of each of those. Week 1, you do a 1 RM of all those. And the same, obviously, this is working on that pendulum curve thing too.
Yeah.
Because on that last one, you could just do another 5x5 at, let's say, 75% of your new 1 RM. The next week you try for a different 5 RM. So people were doing this. This is early on in like again that CrossFit community, and that's kind of where it sprouted that everybody's doing that. So they were seeing strength improvements.
Yeah.
And like I said, just do it until it doesn't work anymore. And then all of a sudden people stopped seeing that, and the people who didn't hire coaches, they switched to like the CrossFit strength bias where it was just all over. But again, it's kind of using Prolipin's chart where it's just looking for optimal training.
Yeah.
85% today, 90% tomorrow of different lifts, and there was an aspect of it was kind of random, but
and the thing too, if you're trying to find your 5 rep max and you do find your 1 rep max, and you look at a 1 rep max calculator, right? Let's just say you pick a random one. This happened to me. It said go 8 your 8 rep max, and it'll tell you what percentage to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably got 2. The first time I did
Yeah.
it. I was like, what the fuck? So if you got to, don't do 2 and then rest and do 2 and then try and get to 8. Just cut the weight down. Because, I mean, I think my 1 rep max for my squat was 350. And then it told me to work around almost 75% or 80% for my 8 rep max or something like that. It was a method, though, right? They had
it was estimated 1 RM. So if it said that, let's say you worked up to a 5 RM one day and it was 300 pounds.
Yeah.
It was telling you that your 1 RM would be 350. Now, it worked both ways.
Yeah, you can kind of reverse engineer.
Exactly. It was all in reverse. But, like, you'd be like, okay, got to do my 1 RM today. Well, this chart says I'm at 350. That's what I'm shooting for. Yeah. And then you do 355 without knowing it, and you're like, what the hell? I probably have another 2 sets in me. Yeah. Or you die underneath a bar that was 350 because you were nowhere near it, right?
No, exactly.
Just because you hit it once doesn't mean you hit it right, and doesn't mean you can do it again. So you just have to kind of keep going.
Well, you got to work your way up to it. I did.
Yeah, and you got to remember strength is a constantly varying factor. It's never the same. Anyone who says, like, and that's why strength contests are kind of funny because it's all about timing it, right?
Yeah.
But just an example of that is like someone says, I can bench like 225. Okay, we'll do 50 push-ups and then get on the bench and bench 225. Well, you're not going to be able to do it. So you're not as strong as your strength does not stay the same throughout a workout. And that's why it's like start with the compound movements, right? Because you're going to be fatigued.
Use your higher efficiency movements.
Exactly.
Get it all out of the way. But even better example of your strength isn't there. There was that 2-week spell there where it seemed that it happened to all of us. It was like this wave that went through the gym where everything is going really well and PRs are going up, so you're working at new percentages, and then a week of missing every single lift.
But that's a part of the game, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's again Tommy Konos. For every up, there's always a down.
Yeah.
But if you're doing everything properly and recovering properly, for every down, there's always an up. So you got to get used to that sometimes.
No, exactly. You got to get through that little hump. So, I mean, it's worth it. I mean, the PRs that I got yesterday, that was supposed to be a rest day for me. I didn't want to go work out. I was like, fuck it. I'll just go do some front squats and see. I've never done a rack jerk before, so I was like, I'll see what I can do.
So you go, and then you just decide to just crush it instead,
So, I mean, if you got to cut the weight down, do not let your ego get in the way.
Yes,
that's a big thing.
Especially with squats.
Yeah.
Don't ego
You're gonna
squat.
jack your back up.
The barbell is not there to hurt your feelings, just your muscles and your body and everything like that.
No, exactly. So don't trust the calculator.
Don't trust the
That's
calculator.
why I don't do math.
But talking about math again, talking a bit about percentage and stuff. So someone's gotten like started as a beginner, done basic 5x5 programming, intermediate stuff, moving on, and then you're getting more advanced.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic. So this is what kind of, Dave, you and I were talking about with my programming. We were talking about volume. Because again, for Lepin's chart, it's once you get over 90% of your 1 rep max, you're looking at 4 reps as optimal. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be hard on you. It's not
And it's
necessarily
hard to get the volume in. If you look at your tonnage, it's hard to get in with 4 reps.
Exactly. So as your weight goes up for each lift, your overall weight goes down.
Mm-hmm.
But then the interesting thing becomes there, if you look at the optimal tonnage for training at 90%, it's going to be less than if you're working with a lighter weight. So you can lift more weight with lighter weight.
Yeah. What he's basically saying is on your light day, your tonnage is going to be higher than on your heavy day. Even though your body's being taxed. If you're doing a 90% and you have to do 5 reps at 90% of a snatch, that's going to be quite taxing. There's going to be a lot of rest time. And next thing you know, an hour's going by. On your light day, you might be doing a 10x2 or a 10x3 at 25% less weight.
Yeah.
Your tonnage is going to be through the roof based on that.
Yeah.
So it is just as taxing, but in a different way, and it keeps your body fresh.
Yeah, and that's where that whole like lifting heavy, you don't need to do that all the time, and you don't necessarily have to. It's a lot of the Russian weightlifters train in between that 75 to 85% of their max most of the time, which is kind of that, I think, sweet spot. Once you hit the elite levels, obviously you're going to be training much higher percentage, but that's because your body's not going to adapt to anything less than that.
No.
Which is something a lot of people don't understand. So it's, again, the super training, which is an excellent, Melsif, yeah. Very good resource, very hard to read. Going to take me my whole life.
Set a couple years aside for this one.
Yeah, but it's good to go through and pick out little things. Like one thing that he talked about was the min-max principle, which is basically economics, and it's minimum input for maximum output. So if I can be working, like, perfect world, I would go to the gym, I would do 1 snatch, and I would put 5 pounds on my lift, and I would leave. And then I would go play Pokemon for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically...
Yeah. 30 minutes in the gym to get a PR, and I mean, it's stupid, but it works, right?
So it's efficiency.
Like efficiency,
Efficiency is what you should focus with, right?
And remember, we're talking about people who did this for 100 years of weightlifting, and just because we say it, you have to stick to a program. I don't like people coming to me and saying, I want to get stronger, and you do a program with me for 3 weeks, you switch programs, and you say, well, what the hell, I didn't get stronger.
Well, that's because you didn't finish it.
Yeah, you didn't finish it. You barely even got started in it. It takes a very long time. Weightlifting ADD, I'm totally guilty of it.
Yeah,
but once you get stuck into a program, whether it's a program for yourself, you found something online, you have a coach doing it for you, stick to it. Just remember, a really good program done sort of poorly will always be better than a shitty program done kind of well, right? So if you need to have that progression, you need to be sore. You need to go to war every time you're in that gym.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Even
on light days.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you got to check your ego, because if you're going in there and you're like, well, fuck, I have to hit 80% today, I'm going to do it, and you can't hit that lip, then just suck it up. You're not going to hit it today.
Yeah.
No, maybe you got to work on that shoulder stability. Maybe you got to work on that overhead squats.
Learn from your failures. That's the big thing, right?
Work it out.
And from each program you do, find whatever you're lacking in. Like for this one, I lack speed and getting under that bar.
Yeah.
Which is the two things.
Yeah, exactly. Which are the two things that hold us all back, is getting underneath the bar.
So
and just that progression.
Next program, I want to be focusing all on that. I might not be doing as heavy weights, but like you guys said, the volume's going to be there.
And the strength will still come with that speed, right? Like we talked about with just Olympic weightlifting or weightlifting is that it's all speed and technique. So even though your muscles didn't get much stronger, the fact that you can drop underneath a bar quicker is going to get it there.
Or get under the bar lower.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, just get lower to that overhead squat, or get that back leg bent on the jerk. I mean, that's going to make a huge difference.
That's a big thing for me. Is what I got to start doing more.
Yeah, I had something. What was I going to say? It'll come back to me.
Yeah, so
something about weightlifting.
With the program that I'm just finishing, as for testing my 1 rep max, I don't know if I should take a 1 active rest week before I test it, or test it that following week without taking a rest.
Well, there's that thing I've always preached to you too, is that maybe like it's at the end of a program that you should take rest. But now, as I start going through it, I'm kind of starting to think that we need to redefine rest. People are kind of defining rest as, well, I'm just going to fuck off out of the gym and not do anything. It might just be doing some light barbell work. It might be just working some core gymnastic stuff.
Or for me is yoga. I would seriously, one rest week I took off, my Sangye, I did yoga.
I don't know about that.
Well, if you see my flexibility.
Well, no, okay, that could just be part of it. But I'm saying that I think you still need to go in there, even if it is working at 50% and saying, okay, I'm doing 3 positions. Like he said, going into the gym for half an hour.
And I didn't even do that
to
for
set
my one rest week. I didn't even lift the barbell.
But I'm saying, but if you did, who knows? Maybe it could have been better, right?
So
I think that's true.
Something you need to try. So try taking a week off. Try doing some light stuff. But a lot of programs, and again specifically weightlifting here, have tapers at the end of it.
Yeah.
So it built into the program, it goes down, and then you test after that week.
The best part is you don't even notice that it just happened. You're just like, well, his weights are kind of low, and you still feel like shit the whole time, and all of a sudden you PR.
But what I was going to say before about programs real quick is, with finishing them, even if you finish them and you don't get stronger and you don't PR, then you know it doesn't work.
Yes.
Yeah, either you didn't follow it, or it was just a shitty program.
Yeah, so now you know what to look for.
And it wasn't worked on your weaknesses, like I said.
Exactly.
You didn't put enough time into your technique, things like that.
Just learning from experience.
Yeah, because I mean, when I was, like I said, when I was doing that program, and I was testing my 1 rep maxes, my front squat went up 5 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the fuck? 275 to 280. I was kind of choked.
Yeah. Well, my snatch on my last program went up. It didn't go up.
No. Yeah, it didn't go up. So there you go.
It should have, but it was a technique thing. Definitely felt stronger doing it.
Yeah.
You felt more competent doing the skill.
And I was getting under it, and I was just missing it overhead. So now I know what I need. I need to work on correcting that, right? And I have adjusted my grip and stuff. So we'll see next time I test. But yeah, you're not always going to improve.
So. No, and especially with this program, I'm on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Every single day, there's a variation of a squat.
There you go.
It'll be a back squat Monday. It'll be an overhead squat Tuesday, front squat Thursday, then maybe a back squat Friday, and then Saturday's a front squat. And out of those, the front squat and the overhead squat, I believe there's pauses in the bottom from 2 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I think is great to get mobility.
Yeah.
It's great for you.
And I think it helps because when you're in that bottom for 2 seconds or 5 seconds, and you clean, it might take you 2 to 5 seconds to actually get that bar up. So I think that's what it's
to find that stable position where you don't have to dump the bar. Right?
Yes.
And teaches you, and it lets you feel out your body position at the bottom, because all of a sudden you're at the bottom and maybe your elbows are starting to drop. You're like, holy cow! If that's going to happen with a 1 rep power clean, I got to learn how to drive these up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to black out and shit your pants and puke at the same time, do
pause
those
squats.
Squats.
Yeah, those are really good for building power, though.
Especially overhead pause squats.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting. So that's overhead squatting is something that I think that's a very Western thing to do in an Olympic lifting program, because maybe the Chinese and Russians are doing it and they just don't want us to know, but you never see them overhead squatting.
Well, and they do like squat jerk now too, right? Like where they just,
which is
which no Westerner can seem to get a grip on unless it's
Ferris.
No, I've seen Kendrick Ferris do this, and I saw
such an amazing
Asia Bardo do it too. But these guys are not. They're just not lifting Chinese level weight and Russian level weight.
And
so we're behind, but I think as Westerners we're catching up. Maybe not Canadians. I mean, we have that one female weightlifter who won the bronze there in London, but
yes, but that's about it.
It's becoming more popular. It's growing.
But
as you told, doing a podcast about it, for God's sake. So.
Yeah.
But going back to just a little point, I don't think the squat jerk is ever going to replace the split jerk.
No.
Just because it's too hard and it's too precise. It's turning your jerk into a snatch, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Your margin for error is much smaller. You need to be much stronger to stand up with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it really worth it to spend that much time working on it when you can just get stronger in a split jerk?
And especially because what do we talk about ratios? Like your jerk always be heavier than your your snatch.
Yes,
Yeah,
it better be.
Yeah, I was
also
gonna
the big
say like a
problem.
46. I forget what the split was.
It's your snatch. Your snatch should be 78 to 82%
of your
clean and
your
jerk.
clean and jerk.
So your jerk basically.
Yikes. so yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think we're good to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
That was actually good for our first one.
So
Podcast.
So yeah, that was Broken Barbell podcast number 1. Hopefully we'll be able to get one of these to you guys every single week. I guess we could plug our blogs. You can find those on our Facebook page. So Dave Barth on Facebook or
Kevin J. Hughes.
Kevin J. Hughes on Facebook there. I'm sure Tom will probably start a blog here that'll blow us all away, and it'll just be a bunch
hiding
of
in his room.
fucking Russian grammar and stuff like this. But yeah, thanks for listening. Whatever website we end up on.
One more thing for our blogs, WordPress.com.
WordPress.com.
Is-
So again, if you go WordPress.com, Dave Barth, Kevin J. Hughes, maybe next week we'll actually give you the names and stuff like that. Once it is posted, whatever website we're on, please give us 5 stars, whatever that might be on, and we'll talk to you guys again next week.